Dynasty Warriors is a series that means a lot to me, and I'm not happy to be making this video today. When Koei Tecmo released Dynasty Warriors 9 back in 2018, I was so excited to play it. It was a new step forward for the franchise, and immediately before it came out, the negative word of mouth right before release scared me straight, and I was like, there's no co-op, there's nothing I'm going to be missing by not picking this up day one, so let's hang back and hope that they fix this. And you know what? Omega Force, you fixed it. For the most part. Like, I picked up Dynasty Warriors 9 last year. It had patches all the way up until 2020. Like, there was a large amount of support for that game, even though it had a lot of problems. And then, when they announced Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires, and the team was learning from all of the lessons of Dynasty Warriors 9, I was like, okay, here we are. We're here. We're going to make all the problems from 9. We're going to maybe make it a little bit more of a linear experience. We're focusing it in because it's an Empires title. There's more customization, and I was so optimistic. Then this game got delayed and delayed. It was delayed like 2+ years. This is one of the longest developments Omega Force has ever had for a mainline title. And I just thought, what could possibly go wrong for this? It's like, you knew how damaging Dynasty Warriors 9 was to the franchise. And Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires, you're releasing on more systems, so that told me, okay, there's confidence. Like, they're releasing this thing on PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, S, Nintendo Switch. This thing is everywhere. I'm like, okay, let's go, let's jump into this. And when I tried the demo, I was less than immediately in love, but I saw that there was still potential there, and I thought, okay, the character creator is a little light. The world's a little like in terms of the actual map design, but I thought maybe that's just the tutorials. Maybe the tutorials are a little bit weird. And the fine folks at Koei Tecmo in America were actually nice enough to give me a review code a couple of days ago, and I've been playing through the game, and I've played hours and hours of this thing, and it's so weird. I love Dynasty Warriors. I shouldn't even say anything. This, to me, is actually worse than Dynasty Warriors 9. Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires is one of the most confusing, head-scratching games I've ever played or reviewed or had to talk about, which pains me to say so much because I'm such a defender of Omega Force, and I love Koei Tecmo games, but this, to me, feels like a $20 DLC expansion that should have come out a year after the release of Dynasty Warriors 9 and not almost 4 years later for $60 whole. It's incredibly weird. It's so light on content. The character creator is one of the big new features, which is nice. They brought over the character creator from Neo 2, and it's fun to mess around with it. The problem with that, though, is that the facial features and the make your character features, those are really nice. Those are really interesting and fun to mess with. The amount of costumes are incredibly low. You can tell that they're definitely planning on, hey, this is where our DLC is going to come in, these crazy costumes. But like the costumes that are there, it's basically pretty traditional Dynasty Warriors-like looking costumes, nothing that crazy, and then a suit. Because if you want to have a suit, and which I did because I was like, oh, this is the only way my characters are going to stand out. So the character creator was something I spent like an hour with. I was really enjoying and was like, cool, maybe there'll be unlockable costumes. There's no unlockable costumes. All the other costumes in the game are all DLC. So what you see is what you get in terms of that character creator, which just was such a punch in the gut. Like, it took all the wind out of my sails of like, awesome! And then it was like, oh, that's it. Like, I was hoping this would be a thing that I would go back to and make more and more and more characters. Like, there's still, like, a lot of, like, fun characters you could make in there, but if you're someone like me who just likes having really cool costumes and messing around with something, like, this is not Soul Calibur. This is not the Soul Calibur created character. This is very much Neo 2 character creator light. This feels like a free-to-play, like, character creator. But, again, it's tied to a $60 video game, which is extra disappointing. So, besides the character creator, this game is weirdly light on modes and features. So besides the tutorial, which teaches you basically, hey, here's how to play, here's how invading battles work, and then here's how defending battles work. Then you have Conquest mode. Conquest mode basically has you playing as any character, whether it be a pre-made character from any of Dynasty Warrior 9 or a created character, going through a specific time in history, very little bits of story. This is not really meant to be story, which is totally fine. Or just kind of having a gambit of, okay, here's everybody, you can play with anybody, do whatever. So in terms of where you want to play in terms of your Conquest, that's has a lot of like different areas for you to mess around in. The problem is when you're actually playing in Conquest mode, it's one of the most like lukewarm things I've ever felt. And I've played, let's see, Dynasty Warriors 7, 8, obviously 9 now, and I've played Samurai Warriors 4 Empires. That's my Empires experience, basically. And I've liked those games, but this one just feels the most light because what you're doing in it is just raising numbers, which again, like, you're doing a lot of things for menu of like raising your rations, raising your soldiers, raising your money. And this one's whole thing is it gives you all of these options in this huge world, because again, this is in the open world setting of Dynasty Warriors 9. The problem is there's only one mode to really explore the open world with Stroll, and when you're strolling, it is this enormous map of China, and there is nothing to do in it. You can talk to everybody, but you might as well just do it through the menus because there's no point in running from point A to point B because this is just, again, a giant open world that doesn't look that great, doesn't run that great, and your only thing you can do with it is fight random enemies or random creatures for very tiny amounts of gold, or just talk to people, which the game already lets you do through the menu, so you might as well just save yourself the time. So, like, they brought over the entire open world aspect of Dynasty Warriors 9 to literally do nothing with it. Like, you can't, there's no mini games, there's no side quests, there's nothing to do in the world. Like, you can go to the shop, but you can also just buy the shop stuff in the menu. There's no, like, different shops. There's the same shop you get everywhere else. It doesn't feel like a real open world. It just feels like this giant, empty waste of hard drive space. And it's really disappointing because you would think, okay, Dynasty Warriors 9 definitely felt empty, but there was stuff to do. There was stuff to keep you busy. You could explore the world. You could see interesting areas. And there are interesting areas still in there, but this is literally just Control-C and pasting that open world into this mode that doesn't need it, and even though it's there and it's not in your way, it's just like, why did you give me this enormous open world and you didn't fix anything about it, and then you took away all the things I could do in the open world? Like, there's no fishing. There's just nothing to do in it, and it's so frustrating because it's just like, okay, why? Why is this here? Who asked for this to be here with nothing new and nothing to add, no substance? It's really, really frustrating. Other little things that are frustrating, just to kind of put them out there, no split screen co-op. That's huge. Like, after everyone was mad at you for not having that with Dynasty Warriors 9, why would you not have it with Empires? No online co-op at all, which is a little bit more understandable, but again, goes back to these games are so much more fun multiplayer. Why would you remove that after everyone always complains? Like in 9, it was a huge deal. Like, if that's not in there, that's a huge turnoff to a lot of people. The clear scope and budget was like incredibly low. Like the team size who made this was very, very small by comparison, and it shows. The price doesn't show, but the quality of the effort put out there is definitely showing. There's only Japanese voice acting. There's no English, which, like, let's be real, no one really liked the Dynasty Warriors 9 dub that much. But my big one was they got rid of the Mandarin dub. Like, having no Chinese acting in the game that takes place in China. Like, when they added in Chinese voice acting for Dynasty Warriors 9, I was like, this is a game changer. This series needed this. This makes it feel so authentic. It's really, really great. And now just being stuck to go back to Japanese and have no other options is just really, really odd. There's not even that much, like, new dialogue, because another thing is it's just copy and paste over cutscenes either from Dynasty Warriors 9 or even all the way back to Dynasty Warriors 7 Empires. Like, you shouldn't be taking assets and model rigs from a PlayStation 3 and 360 game on my PlayStation 5 and having it look this way. It's very lazy and it's really confusing, because it's like, it's not like there's tons of costumes and cutscenes, and like they're not like bloating this game. Like this game barely has cutscenes to begin with. So the few that are in there are incredibly underwhelming. And then when they're just copy and pasted over from something over a decade old, it's like, what do you expect what do you expect the results are going to be? People are going to be disappointed by this. Like this looks lazy, which is weird because Omega Force makes amazing games. They make really, really great games. I love Age of Calamity. I love Fire Emblem Warriors. I love Persona 5 Strikers. I love Pirate Warriors. I love Samurai Warriors. It's not even like they can't do it with their mainline titles. Samurai Warriors. Like, if anyone thought, oh my god, Samurai Warriors 5, like, I'm not sure about the direction the series is going in, be glad you got that. Because Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires is like, are you giving up on this franchise? Because, like, this is the series that you're known for. You're known for Dynasty Warriors 9. Like, this should have been a chance for you to hone things in, make it fun, make it really matter, but you're just looking at everything like, okay, did you even care? Because it seems like only, like, 5 people included with this game really put effort into it. Okay, so I know it sounds like I've been, like, ranting and raving a lot for it, but I hope this shows, like, this is someone who is a very passionate fan about this franchise, and I can't tell you how, like, sad, honestly, it makes me feel to be making this review. Like, I remember telling people before I got my copy, I was like, I'm so excited about this. Like, this is up there with me if I was as excited for this as something like Horizon and Elden Ring, which I know sounds, like, crazy, because this is not, like, a AAA budget game, but it's like, I just had the hope, because, like, if you listen to the interviews and you listen to them talk at TGS over the last couple of years, the developers at Omega Force really wanted this to be, like, a better game, but I'm like, I don't know what you thought you were selling us. Like, maybe this is why there were the delays, because maybe they scrapped it a whole bunch of times, and this is all they could really get out, and they were like, well, we just gotta put this out eventually, but it's so weird. Going into the gameplay is actually the best part about it, but the problem is there are so many better ways to get that itch. The gameplay is still the core of Dynasty Warriors 9. You use R1, you can launch people, stun people, use your specials. But again, it's all just copied over from Dynasty Warriors 9. The only thing new with the gameplay is that if you want, you can use these strategies or secret war plans, and that basically just means you hold the L button, and you can use up, down, left, or right, and that's in place of items. So instead of having normal recovery items, these can do attacks, these can do buffs, these can do health. And I like that. It kind of actually reminds me a lot of the cards you would collect in Dynasty Warriors Next, if anyone ever played that game on the Vita. This, what's like messed up is like, I don't even know how many people would like understand this. If you've played Dynasty Warriors Next, that is a actual 10-year-old PlayStation Vita game that has more features and feels like it's doing what Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires is, but better. And that was a PlayStation Vita exclusive. So the battles themselves are fine. The problem is the maps are incredibly hit or miss. So the big thing with this one was there are no more just open siege battles of you're joining this castle, you're fighting this fight, and then you're taking down the decisive battle, which in Dynasty Warriors 9's case mostly just meant run to the center of the castle, kill the guy you have to kill, and then the battle is done. This one, they've at least changed it a little bit where there are now bases, you have to take over areas, you have to really, like, the amount of troops you have matter a lot more, and you can't just grapple hook over the wall immediately. Like, they fixed stuff like that, but the problem is they didn't change any of the maps. They just added squares to be bases and to be not bases. So you're basically like playing a mod. They haven't designed the map any differently. All these interiors still look the same. And then the sad part is, as well, is like the most interesting like set pieces are inside the castle. But once you've already lowered defenses enough and can get past the castle walls, you're just immediately now running to the decisive battle, fighting the big boss, and then the battle is done. Even though you're running past all this actually visually interesting backgrounds, but you're not getting that for most of the fight, because most of the fight you're just fighting in brown, green, or kind of like whatever looking outside environments, save a couple that might be like a desert or has like a moat near them. So I'm glad that they tried to make the maps more similar to a traditional Dynasty Warriors battle. The problem is they didn't design any new maps. These maps are literally just, hey, here's a chunk of the open world, we're sectioning it off with invisible walls, and now you have to go to these squares that we've predetermined to get into the gate to then just fight the guy. So it's like, it's still the same thing of, it's a very repetitive formula, but now you don't even have like interesting map design to like keep you preoccupied. So it's just so weird. It's like the gameplay's there. Like I wouldn't have been playing this game for almost like 15 hours if it wasn't like something fun to play. But it's like I know what the whole point of this game has to offer, and that's so disappointing to me. So to wrap things up, this is a weird one, especially for someone who's been ranting for like 15 minutes. Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires could be fixed. They could patch in more content. They could give some more stuff away for your created character. But the problem is, I think to fix this game would basically just mean to make a brand new game on top of this. Because everything that's in this game already is so copy and paste from before in such a way that's like... It's just so... It's more confusing than disappointing. That's what's so weird about it. I just don't see this being fixed. This seems to me like there was a goal in mind to hopefully redeem Dynasty Warriors 9, but this is not going to be it. This is not going to be an Empire's title you're going to greatly miss. I think this could maybe be improved with a severe price cut. I think having maybe this be a free-to-play thing, because, again, this goes back to maybe at $20 I could see this being a cool addition to Dynasty Warriors 9, but with everything then of Dynasty Warriors 9 that was fun and gave you content to the game being stripped out, all of the extra Empire features there just do nothing for me. The cutscenes are bland. The world is really, really rough. Actually, geez, I should talk about the performance before I wrap up. I've played this thing on Switch, PC, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5 was where I primarily played it. This thing runs bad everywhere. And it's not like, oh, the frame rate's rough. It's like, oh, the screen's tearing so aggressively, I thought my TV had problems. Like, the screen tearing is so bad that it is like, I had to reach out to the publisher. I was like, are you aware of how bad the screen tearing is? And they're like, yes, we've reported it to the team. There's no plans immediately for a fix, but this game's been out for 2 months in Japan. And this is what they've had. So this is, like, the fact that on every platform this thing runs and looks rough as heck. It's like, okay, the gameplay's not saving it. The graphics definitely aren't saving it. So it's so disappointing. It's so disappointing because, like, even in the moments of, like, oh, wow, this will be, like, a really fun vista, or this will be cool, the pop-in is horrendous. Like, and I'll throw some clips in at the end for it, but it's like, this game has moments where you would think it's, like, just broken. But no, it's just the way their engine has worked. It's just either not optimized, not made for a game like this. But again, this is following up an engine from 4 years ago. They haven't even made another game on this engine since Dynasty Warriors 9. Everything else has just been on their old previous engines, which is like, at this point, I think should be a sign. I think it's time to kill the Dynasty Warriors 9 engine, because while it does character models really, really well, everything else in the world looks terrible. Everything's muddy, everything's really rough, the shadows always look terrible, the lighting effects are really rough. Like, when you can't tell if a beam of light is a beam of light, or maybe if it's fog coming through trees, that's not a good sign. I hate being this negative, but at the end of the day, I have to give my opinion on this. I'm glad I had the chance to review this at the very least, and I hope that everyone out there, if you're interested in this game, please try the demo. Please watch people play it first. Jump into this, making sure you know what's going on, because this is really hard to recommend at almost any price, and is extra weird at $60. So, Omega Force, I hope you learned from this. Like, you seem like you have, because every other game you've made after Dynasty Warriors 9 has been very good. So, I don't know. Maybe Dynasty Warriors 9 is cursed, but I want Dynasty Warriors to go back. Like, there's a way you can make open world interesting, but you have to commit. You have to make an open world. You can't just make an open sandbox with nothing to do. So, Omega Force, please don't give up on Dynasty Warriors, but also don't ever do this again. This is, like, one of the worst games you've ever put out, and it really sucks to have to say that. Well, everybody, let me know what you think. If you have any other questions I didn't cover about Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires, please write them in the comments below. I will gladly get back to you. I'll be streaming this game probably some point later this week if you want to have any questions, so make sure to subscribe to the channel. All that stuff helps. Once again, thank you, Koei Tecmo, for letting me review this. Even though I was not very favorable on it, I do appreciate getting the extra review code, so all of that was extra helpful, and yeah, just pray for Dynasty Warriors, I guess, because the developers are doing great stuff. We're just not getting it over in the mainland series, which is extra disappointing. Bye, everybody.